Hello, welcome to the Big Bad Marketing Podcast. I'm Janae.
And I am Brooke, and we are two entrepreneurs jumping headfirst into building a business.
We're marketers and we're content creators at heart. And in this podcast, we help small business owners learn how to play big with their marketing efforts, even on a small business budget.
So if you are ready to make big bad moves in your professional life, this podcast is for you. Welcome to episode 12. This is the importance of managing your digital reputation. So people are talking, haters gonna hate, 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 in the words of the iconic Taylor Swift. But what can you do about it, right? Like, there are so many forums online. People are going to say things, they're going to write reviews. So, how can you actually get ahead of things and manage your digital reputation?
There's a few different ways you can do it, but the first point here is plan to have a way to respond to all kinds of reviews, good and bad, and know that the internet is like a big, wild place where people have a lot to say. And it's your preparation that's going to help you make sure your reputation stays in a good place. So people always trust you, they're ready to buy, and they appreciate the way you're handling any issues that come up.
Yes. So, we're primarily going to talk about reviews in this episode because that is one of the major ways that people are going to share about their experience with you. So, obviously, the testimonials that you put on your website are going to be a more curated version of those reviews that you receive. So, you might ask people directly, hey, will you write a testimonial for my website? And these are only going to be the people that are going to give you the absolute glowing, most five-star review ever. And the reality is, beyond those testimonials and in a regular review situation, we see mostly five-star reviews and one-star reviews. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason for that is that people only take the time to write a review when they are so ecstatic about what you do and they're so super pumped about the experience that they had or the product they bought and they love it so much, or they are so upset and disappointed in the experience they had, and they just have to save somebody else from having that same experience. So, very few reviews are in the middle, and I speculate that those two, three, and four-star reviews come about when someone starts writing their one-star review and then decide and almost have like remorse as they're writing it and be like, oh, well, maybe I am being a little bit harsh. Like, maybe they showed up a few minutes late, but ultimately they did the thing and I got the outcome I wanted. So maybe let me give them 3 stars. So I think that that middle ground is like the remorseful people. And then you've got your vast majority of your five-star reviews and one-star reviews.
Sure. It's easy when you think about it, like nobody is going to say anything about a product or service that didn't make them feel any kind of way at all. If you feel neutral about something, you're not going to be like, guess what? I want to tell you about this very normal, uninteresting experience that I had buying this product or service. I was not wowed, but I was not disappointed. Like nobody's going to go into it with that mentality.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to reviews, sort of your mission as a small business owner is to figure out how do you maximize your five-star reviews while limiting the likelihood of one-star reviews. And obviously, one-star reviews are going to happen because you cannot make everybody happy, even though you would like to. And things are going to come up and people sometimes are just out to be offended, and there's nothing that we can do for them, right? Let God save them.
Oh,
um,
yes.
but what you can do is put your efforts toward increasing those five-star reviews. And there are a couple of ways to do that. But before we hop into that, it's important to understand all of the potential platforms where your customers can leave you reviews because Google obviously is a big one, but not all businesses are eligible for a Google business profile. So, for example, what Janae and I do here at Big Bad Marketing, we are a service-based business that happens 100% online. We don't have a physical office location where we receive customers. If we meet customers, we're either going to their office location, meeting at a coffee shop, something like that. So we are not technically eligible to create a Google business profile. So if you are a digital only business, You might not either. If you, however, are a home service business, like a roofer or a plumber or an HVAC tech, and you go out and service people at their homes, or you can have them to your office and you have that physical location, then you should have a Google business profile, which we will cover in depth in another episode, and make sure that those Google reviews are as optimal as they can be. So, in addition to Google, you've got Yelp and Trustpilot that emerge as sort of these other big review sites. People can leave you reviews on Facebook. You also have your industry specific review sites and apps like House if you're a contractor, or Health Grades if you're an in home physician. Then you have your a bit more obscure places where people are going to be talking about you, even though it's not necessarily going to be a straight up review. So, Reddit is a platform where people are really likely to discuss your business. So, for example, if you go into the Reddit channel or thread for Charleston, there's going to be a subreddit for plumbers. And people are going to say, hey, who has a recommendation for a local plumber? So people might be referencing your business, or you might want them to reference your business in that channel, even though it's not an outright review site. And then increasingly, as social media gets more and more popular, we find that people are sort of airing their grievances on social media sites instead of leaving them on some of these more traditional review platforms. So you kind of have to have a plan in place to monitor those channels as well. The last one I'll mention is the more traditional mainstream media coverage. So, a story that your local news runs about you, or a local publication that is, showcasing your business and what you do. So, there are a lot of places where people might be talking about you. So, the first thing you want to do as you think about managing your digital reputation is really to check all of those platforms and understand what the current sentiment is and how people are talking.
And don't just react when you see reviews on there. This is where it's so important to have a plan. And I used to say this a lot in yoga, like our practice is about responding, not reacting. Because when you react, it's like out of haste and your emotions are high, where when you respond, you come with composure. So keep that in mind, because you might not like all of the things that are written, but there are going to be ways to address them calmly, coolly, collectedly, right? And that's the name of this game in reputation management, right? Nobody likes reading like the back and forth between the company and the negative reviewer, where you're like, yeah, but we did this and we did that. Like it doesn't play well in the wild world. So have a plan in place and just be prepared to take in information and respond accordingly.
All right, so let's first address how to handle those negative reviews. I love your advice about responding, not reacting. I think that is always best case scenario. If you need to sleep on it and not respond until tomorrow because you're feeling a little bit heated or something struck a chord with you, don't respond right away. Um, with those negative reviews, I feel like people these days are so much more inclined to take this negative customer experience that happens online, specifically around reviews, and like these things will go viral. I feel like I've seen a lot of them on, a LinkedIn or a Facebook where people are like, you wouldn't believe what this company said to me when I tried to report this issue. And it's like, even though it's not necessarily a legitimate channel for reporting issues, people are sort of treating it as such. So, my best piece of advice is don't make an already upset customer have to jump through hoops. So, regardless of what their complaint is, it is now your problem to resolve and to de escalate the situation as quickly as possible. So, I've seen a lot of what appear to be AI generated or templated responses that are like,
Ugh.
thanks for your inquiry. Please send us this as a support ticket by going to blah blah blah.com and doing XYZ. And it's sort of like, don't make me jump through hoops when I'm already upset and you have already done things that have offended me. Like, just you can figure out who I am using context clues. Go look up my username in your system, figure out what I bought and when. Like, it's not that hard to use the information you have on hand to figure out what is the crux of the issue and then just try to diffuse and de escalate. And maybe that might look like, hey, we see you ordered from us and we're happy to reach out to you directly to figure this out. And you give this person a phone call or you send them an email to sort of take this out of the public channels and into private ones where it's probably a little bit more appropriate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think customers, especially pissed off ones, appreciate that you acknowledge that there's an issue here, even if you're not necessarily taking the blame for it, which I think we'll get to a little later. Like you can troubleshoot what the actual issue is and address it from there. But just acknowledge that there's an issue and that you want to correct it because it's important to your business that your customers are happy, they appreciate and feel good about the product or service they received. And most importantly, that they're going to come back and buy again or tell other people about it because they enjoyed the experience they had, which I've had a number of times in my life, like bought something, a product or a service. I didn't like it or there was an issue and I reached out. And the way that the company responded to it turned me around and it made me like, yes, they did hear and acknowledge that there was an issue and then they fixed it appropriately. Even if that was just like, hey, we understand this is not a malfunction with the product that we are able to take care of at this time, but here's a 10% off coupon for your next purchase, or here's here's a direct line to someone who can help you with this type of issue. Let us know if there's anything else we can do. And then I was like, oh, yeah, they actually do care about me as a customer and I will be back.
Yes. So I have both a positive and negative experience of interactions I've had with businesses just in the past like 2 weeks. So the one of them is a jewelry company. And I had a necklace that I received as a gift, and the clasp on the necklace broke. So I went to the store downtown and I walked in and I said, hey, I got this as a gift and the clasp broke. And they took it from me and they said, no problem, we'll replace it. Take me to the counter. Okay, everything's done. And so I came home and I said to my husband, hey, that was a really fluid exchange. That makes me want to buy more things from them just because of how easy that was. So, a negative experience that we had recently. So, we went to a new restaurant, which that's really prime time for trying to get those good reviews. And we just had a really strange experience. So everything started off great. We get the appetizers, we get a round of drinks for the table. Everything is wonderful. We're raving about how good the appetizers are. And then it takes over an hour from when we got the appetizers to when we got our food. And then at the end of the meal, like, so in this time, our server was kind of ignoring us. It got very strange. Like, everybody's drinks are empty across the board for like 30 plus minutes, which, if you've ever been in food and bev, you're kind of cringing right now because you're like, you're going to let your table do that? Like, that's money that you're missing out on when you are not asking people if they want to refill drinks. Neither here nor there. So then once we get our entrees, they come back around and then they, without saying anything, just bring like four limoncellos to the table when half of the people at our table, 2 out of 4, were not drinking, which was sort of just like, are you even paying attention to what's happening here? Anyway, so we just leave it feeling like that was just such a strange experience. And my husband is a big reviews guy. If you make that man upset, he is going to tell you about it on your Google page for everybody to see. So he does a review. This is like 2 weeks ago. So I checked back in yesterday in preparation for this episode and say, hey, you know what? I wonder if that restaurant actually went back and looked at that review and if they said anything. So they've had like 5 reviews since then, all 5 stars, all positive, that they've gone through. Thank you so much for your 5-star review. We really appreciate it. So and so is wonderful. They did not say anything on my husband's review,
Hmm.
which sort of puts me in a place of like, just acknowledge it. It was a weird experience, and you have the ability to make it better. So, like we're talking about, it's like you could just say, you know what, we're really sorry that you had that bad experience. We'd love to make it up to you. You'll get a free dessert on us if you come back and let us try again.
Oh,
And
yes.
it could
Even
be
if they
that
didn't,
simple.
so simple. And even if they just, I'm not condoning this, but even if they just wrote that as a reply and they never actively followed up with you and sent you a coupon or anything like that, even if they just wrote online, we're so sorry to hear this. This is not the way we like to conduct business. Let us make it up to you. That would be enough, even if they never actually
Yes.
did anything, because the other people who are looking at this are going to see that.
Yes. So now it just looks like they love their 5-star reviews because, of course, they do. But if anybody has anything critical to say, they're just going to ignore it, which sort of diminishes your trust. And when you take that out of restaurants and you put that into a brand, selling a product or doing a home service, like, if people have complaints, they are legitimate to those people. and you need to treat them accordingly. So even if you might say, this person just wants to be mad at somebody, they woke up on the wrong side of the bed and I was the victim. That's okay to feel that way, but you still need to professionally address what they have said, acknowledge that their words matter, and try to do something to rectify it. And even if it's just, we're really sorry you had that experience, we would love the opportunity to serve you again. You don't even have to do the promotion or the discount or anything else if you don't want to, but it can be a really easy way to turn that really negative experience into a positive one.
I couldn't agree more. And as you're managing negative reviews, it strikes me that there's sort of two approaches to take to reputation management online on the whole, which is an offensive and a defensive. And so in this case, your defensive is going to be letting them know in advance when you realize there's been an issue, like reach out to them and be prompt and be direct. I had mentioned in a previous episode, so go back and listen to all our previous episodes, but I had ordered something and it didn't arrive. And then I got a request from that company for a review. And I was just like, what? I haven't even gotten the product yet because you guys had some shipping issues. Um, it didn't make any sense. And my point here is like, be paying attention to your processes, be on the lookout for issues like that happen. If you know someone's product arrived defective, or if you know you had shipping errors, or you know at a restaurant that you had a particularly rough night, you were low staffed, whatever the reason is, be on the defense and be prepared to address that instead of waiting for the people to come and yell at you, right? Go out of your way to say, hey, we realize we're running slow. We want to help you out. We want to appreciate your business.
Yes, absolutely. And I think we could talk a lot more about how to manage these negative reviews because obviously these are the ones that we want to limit. But where you have the most potential upside is increasing your number of positive reviews. So, like you said, with that company that sent you out the request for review before you had even gotten the thing, understand when you're asking for reviews and see if there's a way that you can sort of tailor those review requests when they are more likely to be positive. So, a lot of times, that if you sell a physical product, it's soon after someone receives. So if there's a way that you could set up an automation that goes with your shipping system that says this product was delivered on X date, wait 2 or 3 days, then send them the request for review. So they've opened it, they've looked at it, they like it or they don't like it, and they've kind of figured it out. But also, can you set up an automation that says if someone triggered a return request, don't send that to them? Like put safeguards in place where you're protecting your company from asking for negative reviews.
Yes, I actually very recently also had an experience in a restaurant similar to what you described. Just the overall dissatisfaction actually with the food, not the service. And it had been booked through a platform like Resi, so it made an automated reservation. And then the next day, I got a follow up email. How was your experience? And it gave me options to rate the experience. And this was on the low end. So I put, I don't know, like a 3. And that triggered their system. This was all through email. That triggered their system to follow up with me through their, I don't know if it was the general manager or someone who's in charge of customer satisfaction, replied to my email personally. But the safeguard here is that this wasn't, please go to our Google page and review your experience. It was an internal precursor. And then I venture to guess that if I had rated it at 10, it would have been like, please go to Google and submit your review for 10% off or whatever it is your offer to encourage them to give a review. But I loved how it was a pre-thought out situation where if you ranked below this, it automatically went to someone to actually follow up with you. And if you ranked it above this, then it went right to the site. So it could be indelibly written to the whole world to see and then come in upon your recommendation.
Yes, that is such a smart use of systems. And that is going to benefit your company so much if you can put things like that in place. And then the most important part of all of this, listen and learn. Listen to those negative reviews. If you see patterns, that can tell you something about your product or your service or particular employees. If you're seeing recurring reviews where we're mentioning certain people by name in a negative light. So act on what your customers are saying, but balance that with what makes sense for your business. So obviously, the people who are just sort of having the bad day and what they're saying might not be particularly valid, address it and move on. You don't need to act on every little thing, but if you're sensing trends and patterns that you can improve to create a better user experience, why not?
Oh, yes. And to this end, if people on the internet are saying things like, it's great, except for this one piece of the product doesn't work the way I want it to, and a ton of people are saying the same thing, right? Like use that, go back to your R&D team and be like, hey, can we test out this piece? People don't like it. And then make an effort to improve your product based on a trend in what people have to say about it. And if people are like, we love this feature, and a ton of people have the same thing to say about one great feature, right? Like emphasize that and use that as a helpful leverage point when you're going to sell the product. People love this thing that it does.
Yes, definitely. So I think another way to increase that positive sentiment for your company is to intentionally push out more positive news about your business. So, obviously, PR outreach is one way to do that, putting out press releases and things for the positive things that are happening. If you've hired someone who's a key employee of your business, perhaps it's a little bit larger business, but if you've decided to do a charity drive with a local dog shelter and you're going to donate 10% of your profits from now until June toward this particular charity, like go ahead and put that out there in the world and put that out on your social media channels. Like encourage people to talk about you in a positive light. Now, obviously, do things for the sake of doing good. Don't purely do them for publicity stunts, but it's okay to showcase those things that you're already doing, especially if they give back to your community.
This reminds me, and you're making such an important point, like do good things, but it reminds me of some sort of ad campaign where a very large corporation donated a sum of money to a nonprofit. And then they spent almost 3 or 5 times the amount that they donated in PR, in telling other people that they did this thing, that they donated a small amount of money, small, whatever, but like they donated some money to this other nonprofit, right? They spent more telling people about it than they did actually donating, but that actually worked. And I'm not suggesting you should do that, but the point is do good things and tell people about them because it works and it does bring people together. It makes people trust you. It makes them more interested in what you're doing. And it helps them see your whole brand identity, not just like these tiny facets of you or someone complained about this broken part that arrived because of the shipping.
Yes, definitely. So do good things and then don't be afraid to tell people about them. Obviously, you can do things anonymously too, and that's wonderful. But if there is a cause that your community and your customers can help you support and also get behind, seize the opportunity for that and make a bigger impact.
Do good things and work with big bad marketing.
There you go. Words to live by. So ultimately, you can't completely control what people are saying about you online, and haters are going to hate, 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 but you can control how your business responds and how your community then views your responses as a professional, compassionate business owner.
Hey, hey, I do have one quick divisive question to close this out with, which is it true? No, there's no such thing as bad press. Would you agree with that?
Ooh, I go back and forth. I personally think bad press is bad press. I understand where the saying comes from because if people are talking about you, that's good for business. But what do you think?
I would love to hear our listeners' thoughts. Go ahead and leave us some comments. What do you think? Is press press? Is it good? Is it bad?
Yeah, I mean, my heart says bad press is bad press, but I understand getting in front of people and maybe having a an unpopular opinion on things. But that's also maybe a way that you segment your audience and find your people.
Sure. It reminds me, I know you're referencing Taylor Swift, but it reminds me of an Eminem quote, which is, do you have haters? Good. It means you stood up for something in your life. So I think it's like weeding it out and understanding, are people just complaining because they woke up on the wrong side of the bed and they want to complain about something today? Or is there a legitimate issue that you can professionally address? Right? It's a little of
Yes.
both. That plus the size of the business, I think, is a huge factor in is is there no such thing as bad press, right? Like a company like Starbucks, someone makes a bad review, like it's probably just adding to the amount of times people mention Starbucks. Where, your local plumber, if someone says something bad about you, that's going to have a harder hit and a more impact on your bottom line.
Yeah, I think I draw the line at, are you being offensive or are people looking to be offended?
Ooh.
So, would love to hear what y'all have to say about that one. Drop us a comment on the podcast or on the blog.